All right, moving on. New York Dragons and the Chicago Rush. And the Dragons, again, come up short as just too much Chicago. And I think these guys are leading the league right now, Chicago that is, in attendance. Sold out games, and that's what championships are all about. They bring the fans as New York goes down 40 to the Rush's 61. Rohan Davey, I guess, is quarterback by committee in New York. These guys thought they had the veteran leadership as, of course, they didn't plan on Aaron Garcia going down, but things just aren't working in New York. And Chicago, on the other hand, defensively is just making big things happen. On the offense side of the ball, DeRozio and Scipio, that's just another golden combination as the Rush are rolling. And again, questions to be answered in New York, T-Cos.
Yeah, and the Rush actually were losing this game at halftime, so they had to show a little adversity and get it together, but just totally dominated the second half like they should have. Bobby Scipio, great pickup, and, you know, Atu Molden, everyone was thinking, whoa, they got rid of this guy, what are they thinking? But it seems like their offense hasn't missed a beat with what they have back there right now. New York, on the other hand, like we discussed earlier, has to hit the road to Tampa, and they're still looking for that first win. I think they were much more competitive this week and have a little something to build off of than they did before the week before their bye week when they went in and just scored 7 points in the home opener. So I think New York and this quarterback is getting more familiar, and they could be a real surprise next week against Tampa.
All right, as you remember last year, New York similar had the same situation going on where they were down and out, and the wily veteran brought them back. So who knows? Another slow start for New York could end up going somewhere else. All right, let's move on. Utah Blaze visit the Nashville Cats. And unfortunately, the Blaze get torched this time. Too many turnovers for the Blaze as they go down 55 to the Cats 69. I think the story for the Cats, of course, is Dan Alexander, 5 rushing TDs. And this guy just looks like a load of bricks, and you can't stop him when he's got his eye in the end zone. And I think that proved to be the difference in this one, T-Cos.
Yeah, and I think he's definitely a big story, but I think the even bigger story here is Nashville's quarterback, Jeff Smoker. Essentially his first start in arena football. Of course, he had an illustrious career at Michigan State, but he comes in and he just was sharp. I mean, this was a game where Nashville, I think, really knew, with as potent as Utah's offense was, having Syatt Burley back in the lineup, I think they knew they had to score on almost every possession, and they did just that. Of course, Utah, I like what they're doing offensively, but I think there's a big problem here defensively with this team. I mean, they haven't been able to stop anybody, even in those games that they won. So some concern there in Utah. They've got to play defense if they really want to step up and take out San Jose and win this Western Division.
I agree, T-Cos. I think last year was the same situation with Utah. I mean, the defense wasn't questioned. They had a losing record, but they did end up making the playoffs. But nonetheless, those questions seem to not been answered again this year. So it'll be interesting to see what Danny White and company has to do. All right, moving on. Let's talk about the last game of the week. New Orleans Voodoo take a trip to the surprising Las Vegas Gladiators, but I think the surprising this week was the performance of Sean King. Where was the Las Vegas we saw last week? I don't know. The Voodoo dominate 59 to 31. Andy Kelly, again, ageless. This guy and Bonner must come from the same cut there, because these guys, again, just keep getting it done and get better with age. On the other hand, Sean King, not a fantastic performance. Looks like things are going from bad to worse with Vegas. Prentice out with a hamstring injury, not sure how long. But head coach Bardo had a great quote. He said, you know what, I'm not panicking. Earlier in my career, I would have ripped these guys. He said, I really wanted to win this home opener for Las Vegas, playing in a new arena, trying to get the fan support. But he realizes, hey, it's still early. We still got time. And I think he just is remembering last week's performance and hoping they can see more of that, Ticos.
Yeah, and this was a really strange game. Vegas was actually leading at halftime. I think New Orleans only had 10 first-half points, but they picked it up and scored 49 in the second half. And Andy Kelly just was razor sharp, but not a good way for Las Vegas to start their new home. Of course, they're playing now at the Orleans, and not the type of performance that they want to see. But where was the offensive spark that they had against Grand Rapids? Like you said, no Sean King. He's like he didn't even show up for this game. So I think these are the kind of problems you're going to have with a new quarterback like him.
I agree with you, T-Cos. And again, the Sean King syndrome continues. The whole reason Sean was brought to Las Vegas was to bring this franchise to a playoff or a championship winning caliber, and I don't see that happening. I think again, last week was fabulous. I think everyone was excited. This is where we're going. Now this week, kind of hot and cold, and that's not going to get it done in Las Vegas. New arena, new coach. Again, I still think they need to get the bugs worked out. But as we talked about and continuously through the show, pretty much everybody makes it to the playoffs in arena football. So perhaps they can play some great football, as Bardo talked about, towards the end of the year, get to the playoffs on a roll, and who knows, they could be the next Chicago Rush. All right, folks, when we come back, we're going to take a quick break, but we're going to talk about AFL Players of the Week, the all-money team. We're going to talk about offense, defense, Ironman. Be right back. Welcome back to AFL Today, Week 3 in review. E-Money here, hanging out with Tony Cozzolino. Now we're breaking down our all-money team players of the week. And I'm telling you, folks, the quarterbacks don't get it this time. It's going all to the fullbacks. And I'll tell you, these guys had two guys with record-breaking 5 TD performances. Also had another with 4 TDs. And again, I think this was the week of the fullback. But I got to hand it to Nashville Cats' Dan Alexander. This guy did it with authority and pretty much willed the Cats to victory, because when he touched the ball, he was in the end zone. So Dan, got to hand it off to you, offensive all-money team player of the week. For defense, I think the biggest, for me, there were so many great performances. I just went with the coolest name, and that's Lin-Jay Shell of the Orlando Predators. Of course, he deserved it as well. Key interception, key fumble recovery. But it looks like wherever Kenny McIntyre goes, he makes that defense better, and Lin-Jay's picking up quite well for him. So again, got to hand it off to him, defensive all-money team player of the week. And now we get to the Iron Man. Of course, you purists, I understand, not the legendary numbers that we're used to seeing, but Maurice Brown got it done. Wide receiver, on the return game, and also in the jack linebacker position. He was my Iron Man pick of the week for Maurice. T-Coz, what do you got?
Well, you got 2 Nashville Cats there, and you left out, I think, the guy that had the biggest week, Jeff Smoker, the quarterback over there for Nashville. I think coming in your first game and putting together a performance like that, and I think whatever he's been doing to prepare for this game, he's going to continue to put up numbers like that as well. Iron Man, I agree. Maurice Brown also on the Cats. I think the Cats had definitely the biggest victory of the week, underdogs at home, and pulled that off. And defensively, there were a lot of guys. Lin-Jay Shell was a good one, but I like Jermaine Jones in Dallas. I think Dallas really found themselves in a game where they needed the defense to make some stops. 2 key interceptions, and if he doesn't pick those off, Kansas City, I think, comes away with the victory. So those are pretty much the guys that stood out in my mind in Week 3.
All right, T-Coz, Week 3 come and gone. Stay tuned next week as we're going to break down Week 4 and do it all over again. That wraps up this edition of AFL Today. I'm your host, E-Money, for Tony Cozzolino. God bless, everybody.